seeing another person today.
It's just a great place. We have so much fun out here, and I'm not ready to leave.
He's got some weight.
Look at that!
Welcome to AnglingBuzz ICE. Our goal is to make an ice fishing show you actually want to watch. We're going to be tapping into some of the top ice fishing pros to get their tips, secrets, and hacks to catching more fish out on hard water.
I have everything I need for the day mounted to this sled.
Small presentations with a big impact.
You can actually watch that tip go.
Here today, gone tomorrow.
At some point, somebody said that braids sucked for fishing outside in the cold, and since then, everybody's believed it.
We're going to be traveling to some of the hottest destinations.
We are on famous Leech Lake.
Up here in northern Manitoba.
Hey, we're on Lake of the Woods.
Chasing big fish.
That is a horse.
Whether you like walleye, panfish, lake trout, pike, heck, even burbot.
That is a long one.
This past season, we captured some awesome drone footage, underwater videography, and we dove deep into some of the hottest new must-have ice fishing products for this season.
See, it's a synthetic bit. Man, you can just rip through holes with this thing.
This series is going to be informative, but we're also going to have a lot of fun.
These guys are so distracted.
Oh, look at him sizing it up. Go! Flag! I'm gonna get him! I'm gonna get him! I'm gonna get him!
It's October right now, but winter is coming, which means that this episode is all about preparing for the ice season. Whether that means planning your killer ice fishing trip ahead of time or heading into the store to make sure you get the products that fly off the shelves, honestly, sometimes before ice even gets here in some parts of the country. And making sure you have all of your ice gear dialed in. It should be an awesome episode. Stay tuned. First up, let's make sure you have all of your gas-powered equipment running properly.
Hey, there's nothing worse than when it's time to go fishing and your gear isn't working or running. I'm going to show you an easy way to make sure that your four-wheeler, snowmobile, ice auger, any piece of gas equipment is running tip-top when it's go time. The first thing you're going to want to do is get rid of any gas when you're storing it. And an easy way to do that is a little siphon like this you can pick up at Fleet Farm. So I'm going to empty the gas, I'm going to add a little seafoam. This thing is super slick. You can use it to drain fuel from just about everything. Just pop it in the tank, start popping it up and down, and pretty soon the fuel is going to start rolling with gravity. All right, so now we've got the fuel out of the system. The next thing is I'm just going to dump a half a can of seafoam into the fuel tank and let this baby run until it starts smoking. Let's start this old war pig up. I'm just going to run it at high RPMs to get the seafoam run through the fuel system. Once it starts smoking, there's going to be protection throughout the entire fuel system, and when it comes time to go ice fishing, I'm guaranteed this thing's going to start right up. And you don't need to waste the old gas. Just dump it in your truck, burn it right up. A simple step like this in the spring will ensure that you're fishing this winter.
So another thing that you're going to want to keep in mind going into a new season is that your line from last season is old and needs to be replaced. And for a how-to on how to do that, we're gonna hand it off to Joel Nelson.
You know, one thing you should always be doing if you're fishing any amount of time on ice is to make sure you're always using fresh line. I recommend people do it at least annually, but here's a quick tip that'll help save you some cash. So often we're filling up the entire reel with these pony spools, but you don't need to, because at the end of the day, there's so much of this spool that you'll never get to. Even when you're fishing crappies in deep water, think of how many reel turns it actually takes to take up all your line. Really not that much. So what I'd recommend to do is to actually take a little thicker diameter mono, maybe 6-pound test, 8-pound test, something in that area, fill up 2/3 of the spool with it, and then go ahead and, especially if you're fishing panfish, I've got some 3-pound line here, I can go ahead and just tie a double uni knot, go ahead, tie an Albright special, whatever connecting knot you want, fill up maybe 100 feet of line, which is really all you're gonna need, and then anytime you want to re-spool, literally pull out the line until you get to that knot, pop it off, put on some fresh stuff. One of the things that makes it a lot easier to spool up with line, especially if you're doing it often, is this little line spooler jig. It's a cheap item. Literally, you can have a couple of these things all over the place. One in the boat, a couple in the Yeti like we've got now, and it makes the job so much easier. I've always been a big fan of making sure that I'm not imparting line twist as I'm putting line onto the reel. But this jig makes things so much faster, not to mention, it takes a 2-person job and really makes it a 1-person deal. So anytime you're rigging up with this kind of a setup, as long as you're pulling line off the top like I'm doing, you're not going to impart too much twist onto a spinning reel, and that'll take this little spool and make it go for 4 or 5 rods or more. So that's just a great money-saving tip that'll also help you always be fishing the freshest line.
So there's only so much tinkering you can do with your gear before you're really rigged for the season. So the next thing that you could probably do is go on the lake and actually find the fish that you're gonna target on first ice. So we're gonna throw it to Brian Brosdahl. He's the expert.
So I'm looking for pods of fish in deeper water, cruising around with my Minn Kota at a low speed just to find them. And where I find the mother lode, I'm gonna mark the spot like I did right here. The key is to find where most of them are hanging out. They're in the basins feeding on invertebrate, and they'll stay there until wintertime. So these are areas that they're going through right now and they're feeding. As you can see here in the basin, there's bait fish and there's crappies right underneath feeding on them right now underneath the boat. These fish are going to be active. Now I know from the afternoon to the evening, the fish move up on the points. They hold in the basin and move up. There's another spot I'm going to mark, so I know during the day I can get them there and I can move up on the point. This is the time to go. Get out this fall, find spots, use your AquaView HD underwater cameras, your sonars. This can help you find fish quickly in the winter with a lot less drilling.
So now that you know where your first ice fish are living, it's time to take those waypoints and transfer them from your boat to your unit. Now I'm going to hand it off to my good buddy Jeremy Smith, and he's going to show you how to do it.
In this case, we're going to take the waypoints from the legacy unit and load them onto this new Helix 7. So I'll just pop the card out of the case here, and we're going to insert this right into the slot holder. And now we're going to go menu once, menu twice. And then we're going to scroll over to the Nav tab here. You can see there's a number of tabs on the top. We'll scroll over to the Nav tab, and then we're going to scroll down to waypoints, routes, and tracks. So we'll just select for that. We'll push the over key to select that option. Now you can see there's a few additional options in here, sort by options, and then the waypoints below. So we're going to scroll up to the options tab, select that. Now you see in this drop down there's a number of choices. We're going to select all and. So we're going to scroll down 1, 2, 3 times, select all and over. That's going to give the option to delete, export, show, or hide. Now don't get too worried if you accidentally push delete. It's going to ask you multiple times if you want to delete them. But we're going to scroll down in this case to export. We'll push over and we're going to say yes. This takes just a second. It goes really fast. And once that's complete, I'll exit out of here and I can just remove the card from this slot. Pop the micro out, And now we're simply going to insert the micro into the slot on the side. Use your thumbnail, just push that baby in. And there's going to be an option here that populates and it says upload nav data from SD card. And yes, we're going to do that. So we'll select yes. Just takes a second. Here we just loaded 128 waypoints on here. So now let's just truth this to see if it's really on there. So we'll change our view and get over to a map page. Boom, look at that. All the waypoints in this area just populated. So we had a successful upload. Now we just need to remove this card and we're good to go. Now if you want to go to another unit and grab more waypoints, you'll want to go to your computer and clear this card. Now I also recommend saving these waypoints to your computer. It's great to have a backup. You don't want the only source of your precious spots to be stored on a unit. So that's as easy as it gets to load waypoints onto a new unit.
So now you've got a few honey holes, probably somewhat close to your house.
Oh, here we go. Here's what happens when you catch 3 fish in a row.
But no ice fishing season would be complete without a big trip out with your buddies.
Want a hole too?
Get out.
And if you've ever been on a big ice fishing trip with your buddies,
Hub houses. Quick midday update is probably, we're big weirdos and we follow the moon phases. These guys are so distracting.
you know that logistics might be an issue. Sometimes it can take some time to figure out the right timing and the right location.
If you dug this, do me a favor.
Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button.
Boom!
Now is the time to plan. And if you're looking for a killer location, check out this trip we did to northern Manitoba.
Today I am out on Lake Winnipeg, Lake Manitoba, the Trout Triangle. We're up in northern Manitoba.
What we're known for is multi-species, and this is exactly why. I'm fishing for walleye and catching a beautiful lake trout. Our high quality management makes sure that all of our big fish go back in the water. So you can hook giant walleye, giant lake trout, giant pike, and giant burbot literally out of the same holes in some of the spots here. It always keeps you entertained, as you never know what kind of bonus fish you might get.
Oh, I got bubbles. I got a lake trout.
There we go, there you go.
There it is.
There it is.
Ooh, nice laker.
There we go.
There you go, buddy. Yeah.
What really sold me on this area was high quality management. The fishery sells itself, and that's what people come up here for, is a chance at those fish of a lifetime, or just high quality and high numbers of fish.
That's an average fish.
Yeah, that's average.
So we actually get a solid 6 months of hard water action, and there's no other place I'd rather be than out here with a rod in my hands.
It was madness. Awesome madness, but it was madness.
So one of the unique, awesome things about fishing in Manitoba is just the diversity and the ease of access. So if you're looking for a trip of a lifetime with a whole lot of fish or a whole lot of big fish, with as easy as it gets for traveling, this is the place to do it. And we know how to grow them, and we grow them big.
Like I said, this is why we come to Northwest Manitoba. Big burbs, big lakers. Where else can you do that? Woo!
All right, now hold up. If you want to remember a trip like this, you have to make sure that you document it appropriately, and here is how we do it.
We're on big water in Manitoba, quantity and quality.
Anybody can throw a chest mount on, a chesty, and film their own fish catches. The hard part is getting a shot of you full frame fighting a fish. Now, you used to have a big bulky tripod or have a buddy who was willing to put his rod down to film you when you hooked up. But now, if you're a diehard ice angler, you might already have this. A Markham Lithium Shuttle. It's got a ton of cool features, and some of them are really friendly for a vlogger or somebody who wants to capture their fish catches. A couple of those are dual USB ports. I can plug units in and power them all day, all weekend, not have to worry about running out of juice or changing batteries midday every 30-40 minutes, because we know that the cold takes a toll on them.
Now I'm all fogged up.
The options are endless for mounting different brackets and clamps and cameras on here. A couple of my favorite, you can get these ram mounts. They've got little 1-inch balls that screw into those 1/4 20 ports. Lets you mount all different types of accessories and swivel and move that camera however you want. I'll leave one filming on me, one up front to get release shots, and you know that those cameras can run all day, all weekend, and you will never miss the hook set. Markham's actually got a brand new flexible mount you've probably never seen before that is designed for the Lithium Shuttle. You can move this camera in any direction you want. This Lithium Shuttle is the real deal.
I've been fishing with this unit for 2 days straight. I'm at 80% battery. What? How nice is that, dude?
40 hours of run time, so you don't have to worry about running out of juice. It weighs like 3.5 pounds less because of that lithium battery. So many features packed into this thing, they knocked it out of the park.
Sorry for the interruption. Let's get back to fishing. So my favorite part about going to Manitoba is that you feel like the best fisherman on the planet because the fishing is super good.
This lake gets my heart pumping every time because we've seen some absolute tanks come out of here of every species.
Ooh, there's one right there. Oh, should have missed him. Gawk. It seemed like every piece of obvious structure was holding fish. Really fun. As you can see, I was watching that fish. Some spots had walleye on them.
Northern Manitoba's finest right there.
And then on some spots, there were burbot spawning.
This one actually looks like it might be spawned out. It's pretty skinny.
And lake trout were actually on the hunt, chasing around burbot. It was pretty cool.
Look at that jig. He absolutely devoured it. You can tell these things are on the feed. Just a 3/4 ounce Northland jig, tubing, and cut bait.
You know, it's really funny, when I was gearing up for this trip, I had boxes full of lures, but at the end of the day, I really only ended up using a white tube for burbot and lake trout and an 1/8 ounce buckshot for the walleyes, and they worked great.
Oh, this is another laker. Are you kidding me? Three drops? Oh my goodness.
Now that you got your big ice trip planned out for this year, let's talk about some of the gear that you're probably going to want to grab before ice is here. And the first one that we're going to start out with is one that's probably going to be, I don't know if you're going to be able to get your hands on it in December because this thing's going to fly off the shelf, and that is the new Light Flight auger bit from StrikeMaster. And what's so great about this thing is that it is incredibly durable but also very light. The 6-inch model weighs 4.4 pounds and the 8-inch model weighs 5.3 pounds. You can put this on any StrikeMaster head or a drill if that's what you're into. We drilled probably 2,000 or 3,000 holes with this last winter. It held up great, very light, very awesome to drill with. If you're one of those guys who likes to be mobile on the ice and every second counts, you're gonna wanna grab one of these StrikeMaster snap caps. It's basically a really quick, hands-free option to just snap your auger blades into a protective casing and head on down the ice. Now let's move on to baits, and one of my personal favorites is the slab wrap. To me, this is a great bait for anything from walleye down to crappie and perch. They come in 3 sizes. It actually has a lot of good calling power because of the vibration in the water, but it doesn't have rattles, so it's a little bit more subtle than, say, like your rip and wrap. It can be a happy medium that works great in a lot of situations. Next up, let's talk about the new Glow Shot jig. And I actually had the opportunity to test this lure last winter out on Red Lake, and I was out with Brian Brosdahl and a couple other buddies. And this thing was actually the deal on this particular day. Not only was this bait the deal, but this color right here, red glow, was extremely effective. And not only did we catch fish on that particular lure, but we also caught fish on the new Predator rig, mini Predator rig from Northland. And this is a great option for walleye fishing or pike fishing. It's a little bit smaller, you can use a little bit smaller bait, and it's just another great thing to have in your arsenal. So both of those lures are actually great set line options, and one of my favorite ways to present a set line is with the Rattlesnake Reel. And this thing is awesome. It's super loud. It'll wake you up at night if you happen to be sleeping. You can adjust the tension right here. It reels up really nice. Easy to adjust. And as you can see right here, it's compatible with the quick disc system, which makes it extremely easy to pick this thing up and put it in another location, or you could put like a rod holder or whatever other accessory you want on the quick discs. Now on the line side of things, if you're looking for something to rig up on your rattle reel or even a tip up, you're gonna want something that's easy to manage, something that's fairly tangle-free and won't cut your hand as you're fighting a big fish. And to me, that's a coated line. For example, like this Suffix coated tip-up line. And to me, this has to be the premier rattle reel and tip-up line. Now, of course, you're not gonna want to tie directly to that line. You're gonna want some sort of leader material, to which I would recommend either fluorocarbon or mono. Right here, I have the Frost Ice line. This is fairly new to the market. It's made in Japan, actually by Sunline, and is an excellent choice for either your main line or leader material. Now moving on to the rod side of things, custom ice rods have been a huge trend in the ice fishing industry in probably the last, I would say 5 or so years. It's really gotten big, and St. Croix recently came out with their own line of custom rods. Now what's really cool about these rods is they come in a number of technique-specific powers and actions. So if there's something that you like to do out on the ice, this is gonna be the premier rod for that application. Now moving on to the electronics side, right here we have the Humminbird Helix G3N series, and this is actually the sonar unit that I use out on the ice. And what I like about it is it's got extremely fast sonar readout, it's got the recorded history, mapping, and auto chart live on the ice, which is a really cool feature. Now this particular package, the all-season package, has all the components that you need to fish this thing out on the ice, but also take it out in your boat. And to me, it is one of the best values that you can find in ice fishing sonar unit. Next up, let's talk about one of my favorite tools out on the ice, and that is an underwater camera. Now the reason why I love underwater cameras so much is I just love watching the fish strike. And to me, you can learn so much by watching that fish swimming around and reacting to your bait. It was twirling around my bait. And one thing that I like to do is hook up a recorder to these cameras so that I can download all the footage, put it on my computer, watch it with my buddies, maybe post it up on social media. I can't understate how much you can learn. Now, if you're gonna be running all of these big screens out on the ice and burning a lot of battery, you're gonna wanna have a little extra power. We like to use the Power to Go boxes. They have lithium batteries on the inside, so they're super light. They have regular lights and a UV light for glowing up jigs. Additionally, they have these RAM mounts here where you can hook your GoPros. They have 2 USB charging ports, a 12-volt accessory port, and a positive and negative terminal that you can use to hook up the lights in your fish house. Now lastly, if you need a new ice suit this year, the one that I wear is the Ascent float suit from Ice Armor, and it's worked great for me. A lot of people, when they think about float suits, they think it's gonna be bulky and there's not gonna be much mobility, but that's simply not the case. It's windproof, waterproof,
It's super nasty, it is raining.
and you have that extra insurance that if you do fall through the ice, you will float. So make sure to check out the Ascent parka and bibs from Ice Armor. So those are a few of my recommendations for this upcoming ice season. Make sure to head over to your local Fleet Farm store and pick up many of these items. Now, when you're talking about fish houses out on the ice, there's a bunch of different options, from high-end Yeti fish houses to flip overs to hub style shacks. And you know, a lot of guys really like to use flip overs.
You know, I use a flip over most of the time just because it's easier to haul gear.
My big tackle box.
They're versatile, being mobile, they're comfortable. Hitches are built in, zip from hole to hole. Does not take me any time to set it up.
Take the cover off, flip it over, and be in it.
Pretty easy question from you there.
But there are a few reasons why you might want to use a hub style shack, as you'll hear from my buddy Doug Wegner. Reason number 1.
Set lines, for sure.
What we're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice because we can set up a home camp or a home base right away in the morning. We can come in, get warm our hands up from, you know, catching the fish or setting lines, checking lines. But we're always here. We don't have like a big reason to be mobile.
Exactly. And if you look around this shack, there are windows on every single pane. Depending on how you want to set up your tip-ups, you know, you can see them. So that would be reason number 1. Reason number 2 is when you're fishing with large groups of people. Right now, the weather is nasty, and when it's nasty, people want to hang out inside. So it's definitely nice to have a hub as a central location when you have a lot of people. Reason number 3, what was reason number 3?
Sight fishing, something that's becoming really popular in fishing. Drill yourself a big sight hole and be able to put a giant shelter over top of you, and close all your windows so you can see in there really well, but be able to see underneath the ice, and having that large space versus a flip over where you can really cut yourself a nice big sight fishing hole, see your strikes, and it can be a really, really fun way to fish.
Well done. That's a beauty tiger, man.
Why would a guy want to flip over?
Mobility, I think, it has to be the #1 reason. Just be mobile, check a spot, you're not liking it, you can move very easily, flip it over, pack your stuff back in it, and you can drag it to the next spot pretty easily, put it behind the machine or pull it by foot. Mobility is number 1, and to be mobile, keep moving, and try and stay in a school of fish or find out where the fish are.
If you're in the market for a hub or a flip over check, just an ice house in general, hopefully that helps you make a better decision this year based on the type of fishing that you do. So pizza, it's decent, but when you're fishing, you gotta have a fish fry, right?
What more fun can you have on the ice, especially when you're with a bunch of buddies or family in a wheelhouse, than have a fish fry? I'm gonna show you a few things to have a perfect fish fry when you're out with some family and friends. When you're on the ice, you wanna keep it super simple and not bring a ton of stuff. So all you really need is a fryer with a basket, propane, a shaker, some oil, obviously batter and fish. So super simple, let's get started, go step by step. Just gotta get the oil in the fryer. Basically this size pan takes 1 gallon of oil, so you can throw the whole thing right in there. Next, we need a little fire, get her started. Sure the propane's on. Also important to have a temperature gauge, make sure that oil is right at about 350. After you get the oil, next step is just to get some batter in there. Nice thing about batter is there's so many different kinds, and to be quite honest, I like to mix a few things. Sometimes I put Cajun with original, but my favorite is using a panko with original. You get that crispy texture, it's like eat potato chips. These are super nice because you don't have to worry about mess, getting it all over your hands. Fish right on the top of there, and shake it up, get that mixed up. Then you just wait for the oil to get to 350, drop your fish in here, shake it up, and you're ready to go. I just use water, again, you're on the ice, you want to stay as lean as possible. You start using egg or milk or whatever, it gets pretty messy. I just use the moisture on the fish. That's all you really need for that batter to stick to the fish, and it doesn't get overbearing. And you're ready. Okay, we got the oil where it needs to be, 350. It's kind of that magic temperature. You don't want to get too much higher than that because it'll burn the fish. Throw a bunch in there. Okay, they're done. It really only takes 2 to 3 minutes tops. Let her drain off. Beautiful. There you go, perfect fish fry. What makes a perfect fish fry for me? Easy setup, easy cleanup. More importantly, the fish is gonna taste great. I don't know what it is about eating fish and fixings and the fresh air that makes it taste so much better. This is what I call a perfect fish fry.
I want to thank all of you for watching this video, and if you haven't already, head down to the description, click on the link, and sign up for our newsletter because we're going to be sharing some awesome content there, as well as a huge ice fishing giveaway that you're not going to want to miss. Until next time, we will see you on the ice.
Whoever said ice fishing was relaxing, look at these.
What is that?
That's sweat.
No way.
There isn't a temperature, it's 0 degrees. I'm pouring sweat.
Maybe I should have cut a few of those holes.
Maybe I should do this more often. I could drop down to a 2XL.
So I really appreciate all you guys watching. One more time. That was a weird angle coming in.
Oh, dude! No! I told you I should keep eating those cheeseburgers. I just put one in the drink because I'm an idiot. That's why.
I want to Are you kidding me?
That was the take.
That was it. I want to thank all you guys. I'm sure not these guys. I want to thank all of you for watching this video. We will see you on the ice.
Oh, we're still rolling. This is AnglingBuzz ICE. Yes.